How much money do you need to save for a down payment? How long should it take you to save up that money? And where should you save that money? Let's go over all that fun stuff today as we take a deep dive into everything you need to know before you save your down payment, and everything you need to know about how to save that down payment. If you missed last month's video, you can catch up at the link above, but the TLDR version of the story is that I'm currently still in the homeownership planning stages, and I'm documenting the entire process so that you know exactly what steps are required and exactly how you need to prepare financially for the biggest investment you'll ever make. When it comes to a down payment fund, the average Canadian takes 5 to 7 years to save up what they need. In some places, like Toronto or Vancouver, it can take closer to a decade due to the higher, on average, price of homes. It's honestly kind of wild. Most of the Google searches out there are,
how to buy a house fast?
Or one of my favorites,
how do I buy a house without a down payment?
Which I 0 out of 10 recommend. Either way, every sign points to people looking for a solid breakdown of what they need to do to accomplish this goal. So let's not beat around the bush, let's jump right into everything you need to do to save your down payment. First, you need to focus on how much you need to save. The minimums. The Canadian government, or CMHC, will look at the purchase price of your home, and then from there, you'll get the minimum amount of down payment that you can put down on that property. If the property is $500,000 or less, you can put 5% of the purchase price down. If the property is $500,000 to just under $1 million, you can put 5% of the first $500,000 of the purchase price, and then 10% for the portion of the purchase price above $500,000. If your property is worth $1 million or more, you have to put a minimum of 20% of the purchase price down. Most people will tell you that the best percentage to put down on a home is 20%, because if you can't, you are responsible for mortgage insurance fees, or CMHC fees. Here's a breakdown of how those insurance fees are charged. Say the purchase price of a property is $500,000. You plan to put down 15% on that property, which is $75,000. You've decided your amortization period will be 25 years. When I put this information into CMHC's mortgage calculator, they calculate the insurance premium as $11,900. You can pay this insurance as a lump sum, or you can have this premium added to the mortgage. Premiums in Manitoba, Quebec, Ontario, and Saskatchewan are subject to provincial sales tax. The provincial sales tax cannot be added to the loan amount. Locked and loaded with all of this information, something really important to note is that after doing some research of my own and speaking with financial experts, putting less than 20% down, while might seem a little bit scary now that we've looked at those numbers, can actually save you money in the long run, even after you add in mortgage insurance fees. I found the sweet spot to be 10%. Those who do put 10% down get the most significant reduction in mortgage rate premiums. If you want to read more about how I made this decision, I'll put a link to an article that I wrote down in the description box for you. That point though leads us to the next step in our action plan, which is gaining perspective on how much money you actually need to save. The best way to explore your estimated down payment is by speaking with a mortgage professional. But if you're not there yet, you can also use a mortgage calculator online. The mortgage calculator will populate this number for you based on a few factors. 1, the household income of all applicants. 2, personal monthly expenses, including debts owed. And 3, monthly expenses, including property tax, condo fees, utilities, anything like that. Mortgage lenders want to see that you can cover all of those expenses and all of those monthly costs alongside of a mortgage payment, and they'll do all of this before they tell you how much you can afford. They also ideally want these costs to fall under 32% of your monthly income. The main concern for lenders is your debt-to-income ratio. Debt-to-income ratio is a measure of how much of your monthly payments go towards debt. Typically, mortgage lenders need this ratio to be below 43%. Anything higher than this can be a risk to both parties, especially in the case of job loss or in health emergencies. Let's look at a quick example. If you pay $1,500 a month for your mortgage, $250 a month for a vehicle loan, and $250 a month for credit card debts, your monthly debt payments ring in at $2,000. If your gross monthly income is $6,000, your debt-to-income ratio is 33%, which means that you are A-okay to move forward with a mortgage lender. Now that you have a rough estimate of the amount of money that you need to save, let's look at your timeline. 42% of millennials have their down payment fund saved in a high-interest savings account. And while that's not a bad place to store your money, there are some things you should consider. How long do you have until you buy a home? Example 1. You're buying a home less than 5 years from now. If you have less than 5 years, you should have your money easily accessible, but also kept in a safe place. While investments can be valuable, you also need to have the right amount of money available for a down payment and the ability to access that money at any time, which means it's quite the risk to keep this fund in stocks or locked up in GICs. Instead, stick to guaranteed investments, shop around, Google the highest savings account rate, and find out about financial institutions with the best offerings. Although a high-interest savings account doesn't provide a great return, they are a safe and conservative place to store your down payment fund for the short term. Do your research to find a financial institution that has a higher rate of return if you still want to maximize your earning potential. The second example is if you're buying a home more than 5 years from now. If you have more than 5 years, you have a lot more flexibility with where you can store your down payment fund. But something important to consider in this situation is your personal risk tolerance. Most financial experts would share that you should have some of your money in equity building investments. Places like ETFs, GICs, mutual funds, money markets. In the long term, this should give a higher rate of return than the 2 or 3% you'll get in guaranteed rates. On the flip side, be prepared for the reality that it might be less. Part of investing is that you'll have to be able to come to terms with that. Now let's get to the actual process of saving money. This isn't just a quick $1,000 you're putting towards your next trip to Vegas. A down payment fund is basically an annual salary, if not more. You'll need to put that amount of money away, plus the closing costs, the lawyer's fees, and all of these other things that come with the territories of buying your first home. It takes a lot of commitment and dedication, and it's not easy. But if there's one thing I hear from all of my friends and family who do own homes, it's definitely worth it. Now that we've gone over the very intense details, let's simplify how you can save money for a down payment in 5 easy steps. Step 1. Start with a clear goal. We did this earlier with our affordability calculator. Be sure that you don't stretch yourself too thin financially when finding a number. It should be realistic. Step 2. Prioritize this financial goal. You may opt to push aside other savings goals so that you can put as much money possible towards your down payment fund. Step 3. Boost your income. Some simple ways to do this are through a side hustle that may provide a small yet significant amount of money to put towards your goal each month. Step 4. Choose the right tool to save your money. Remember to speak with a financial planner or mortgage broker to discuss where you might want to save your money depending on the timeline that you have before you buy a home. Be sure to assess your risk tolerance before making any rash decisions. Step 5. Start saving money by setting up automatic contributions into the account of your choice. As someone who considers themselves a little bit of a personal finance nerd, it's really important to me that whatever action I do take and however much money I do save, that it is the most financially secure option I can take. So in cases like this, it's really important that you're well aware of the type of home that you want to buy, knowing how much you'll be able to receive from a mortgage lender, and then focusing on building your savings fund around that goal. As exciting as it can be to look at houses that are like $1 million and beautiful and oh my god, I've seen this on HGTV, just be realistic with your goal and make sure that whatever you do plan to do, that you will be able to afford this home no matter what happens with you, your job, your income, anything like that. Owning a home for me isn't really about anything other than just being happy, having somewhere stable to live with my family, because I do have a beautiful baby girl and a wonderful husband, and we want to be able to set some roots and focus on building a home. Here is an example of what I did. When we first decided that we were going to save a down payment and plan to buy a home, we had more than 5 years. In this situation, 50% of our money was invested in stocks within a TFSA, 20% was invested in life insurance I knew I would no longer require, and 30% was in a high-interest savings account. 3 years ago, we decided to shift money around as we were getting closer to the time we planned to buy. I removed the money from my life insurance and placed that money in my savings. 50% is still invested in stocks within a TFSA, and 50% was in my high-interest savings account. Fast forward to today, where 90% of my money is in a high-interest savings account and 10% is invested in stocks within my TFSA. As we near the end of our financial goal to save money for a down payment, it's crucial that our money is saved in guaranteed investments where there is minimal risk. In the end, make sure that whatever you do decide to save for a down payment, you're saving it in a safe place that you know you can access at any time if you need to, and that you're also really focusing on getting rid of your debts and building up your savings account. As someone who's very excited to buy a home, sometimes it's hard for me to look back and reflect on the fact that this is just step 1 in the entire process, and that once you actually have accomplished this goal, all of the fun stuff starts to happen and you realize that you can actually reach that goal of buying a home. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I'm really glad you're here alongside of me on this journey to home ownership, which has been a dream of mine for so long now. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and follow us us on social media. Make sure that you tune in next month as we discuss some more exciting tips and tricks about how you can prepare your home buying strategy or actually continue down this road of buying a home within the next year. I know I'm excited, so have a wonderful day, have a wonderful week, enjoy the beautiful weather. Summer is finally here. Bye!